Let's get more on this and speak to Nii Akuetteh. He's the Executive Director of the African Immigrant Caucus, joining me live from Washington, D.C. Many thanks for joining us, Nii.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, as we heard in that piece, EU observers have criticised the polls, saying the governing party, and I quote here, created an intimidating atmosphere. The opposition have also alleged vote rigging. Do you think this election was free and fair?
No, I don't. And we saw it coming because, as your excellent background report noted, Mr. Museveni came to power after a 5-year guerrilla war. But in fact, he had supervised elections in the late 79 and lost that election. And then he unleashed a 5-year war, which is how he walked into power in 1986. So his democratic credentials are very, very, very suspect. And this election was not credible. President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo of Nigeria, is in Uganda as we speak. He was there to observe it, and he called a number of aspects into question. One of the best newspapers in Africa, the East African, which covers that region, has an editorial today saying that the election was tainted. So it is clear that this is not a very fair election. He's been in power for 30 years. The other piece to add, my day job in Washington is to look at how the world deals with Africa, and the Western powers, especially Europe and the United States, have been supporting Mr. Museveni despite all the stuff he's done, including invading his neighbor, the Congo. So the elections are not credible, and his rule has had a lot of problems which are not covered sufficiently.
So what happens next? I mean, at the end of the day, he has officially won the elections and he's got another 5-year term. What does this mean for Uganda?
Well, I think it means a certain amount of turbulence. Now, his security forces are pretty strong, and he hasn't shown any reticence in using them against his opposition. Mr. Besigye has been arrested this week alone, by my count. He's been arrested 4 times. So I think clearly the opposition is not happy. Those who voted for them are not happy. The international community is not happy. But Mr. Museveni controls the security forces, so we will have to watch the situation carefully. But I think we also have to put pressure on his international donors and backers who have been winking at what he's been doing. Secretary of State John Kerry of the United States called him yesterday to say, don't arrest the opposition leader, stop arresting him, but they hadn't spoken out strongly against the election. So I think the Western world particularly can do more, even in the aftermath of the elections.
Okay, Nii Akuetteh, thanks for joining us. Really good to hear your thoughts. The Executive Director of the African Immigrant Caucus, joining us live from Washington, D.C. Many thanks.